He was a speedway rider. Porky McCabe was a speedway rider back in the day. He was born in about 1951, and there's not much written about Porky. And I've looked him up, and just tried to find stuff about Porky, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult to find information about Porky. But some of you remember him. He was a blonde hair speedway rider, and when I first started racing, he was about 8 years older than me, and he was a pretty good rider. He was a decent rider. He rode in some world qualifiers, and he wasn't really a big name, but most of you probably remember Porky by his white leathers with Porky the Pig. He had the pig, the Porky the Pig cartoon. Well, Porky had that on his front of his uniform. He had no sponsors. He just had the pig. And he was a pretty fair rider. He was decent. And we used to race a lot. The reason why I remember Porky is when I was racing at Santa Ana Bowl on the quarter mile track, Porky thought he was like one of the top riders, which he was a good rider for sure. And he went ahead and he was racing. He was racing me a lot, and unfortunately for Porky, I was able to beat him most of the time. And when I beat Porky, he got more mad at me. He got more and more mad at me every time I beat him. And as a racer, when you beat a guy, when you're used to beating someone, you don't like that person to beat you, right? And when you get that confidence as a racer that you could beat somebody, you keep that confidence and you don't let it go. And I didn't let Porky beat me at all. So one day we had the world qualifiers. This was one event in Santa Ana Bowl, another two in Northern California. I guess the world championship had just finished that year. And I don't know, some people say it didn't count, but we thought it counted anyways. And so we had a race in Santa Ana Bowl, and it was kind of it was a good race. We did pretty well, and I think Denny Pyatt won that race, and Bobby Schwartz was second place. Uh, and so that's kind of how that ended. And then we had two meetings in Northern California, and the first race was in Sacramento, and then Auburn, I think, was the second race that we had. And the first race, I did really well. I raced Bass, one of my first races, and I beat Mike Bass off the line in scratch racing in the World Championship qualifier. And I won that race. And Bass came up to me like, "What do you got in that engine, Brian?" I told him, "Hey, dude, it's a Fairchild engine." And I was shocked that Mike Bass even talked to me. And then the second race, I had Bobby Boogaloo Shorts, and Bobby gated me that one. I gated Bass the first one, and he didn't beat me. And then the second one, Bobby gated me, and I just rode Bobby really hard. I don't know why I was riding him so close, but I ended up doing something nobody ever has done practically to Bobby, is push him off the pole. It took me like about 3 laps to do it, but I got lucky. And then the next race, I was leading in points, and then I crashed. Some guy from Northern California, he leveled me, and I injured my arm, and I went to the hospital. But while I was injured and stuff, I was sitting in my chair, and the crash wall was right behind me in the pits, and all of a sudden I heard this boom, this big explosion, and I was like, "What was that?" And I looked up, and it was Porky McCabe. He hit that wall so hard. And I guess the night before they had a like an auto race, like a figure eight race or something, and the fairgrounds, and they had Bondo on the track. And Porky, unfortunately, he rides the outside a lot, and he was a good rider, like we mentioned. And he hit the Bondo, and he just like crashed right into the crash wall. But the problem was at the Sacramento is they put the big railroad beam right behind the crash wall. They should put like a 2x4 or something, or maybe a 4x4 or something. But they went ahead and put a railroad tie. and it went ahead and Porky had a terrible injury. Went to the hospital. I went to the hospital, and Porky went to the hospital, but Porky's injury was much worse, and he had to sever his spinal cord. He was in a wheelchair for life. And I just had I thought I had a broken arm, but I didn't have a broken arm, thank goodness. But I couldn't drive home. A friend drove my van home from Northern California. So, anyways, it was a really sad experience. We had this really horrible accident, and I just felt so horrible for Porky. Porky didn't like me very much because I had like beat him a lot, and I was quite a bit younger, like 8 years younger, and he just didn't really like me, and so I felt really bad. And one day, this was about a month after his injury, I went up to his house. It was in Los Angeles somewhere, and I found out his address and from somebody, and I went there to help him, to like talk to him and spend some time with him. And I knocked on the door, and Porky opened the door. He was in a wheelchair for life, and I went ahead and like said, "Hi, Porky. This is me, Brian, and I want to talk to you, and I want to see if I can help you." I felt really sad for Porky's situation. And Porky didn't like me still. He said, "You know what? Get out of here. I don't want you. Don't ever come back to my house. And I don't appreciate you coming here." And Porky slammed the door right on my face. I felt pretty sad because, I wanted to help the guy and I wanted to like do something. I felt so horrible for his situation. And Porky totally rejected me. So I went ahead and felt bad and went home, and I never went back because he didn't want me to go back to his house. And so about a few months later, I heard the news that Porky had died. And I said, "How did he die?" And I guess the caretaker put Porky in the wheelchair, and I guess there was a screw coming out of the wheelchair, and the lady pushed his feet into the screw, and he got gangrene, and he died, I guess, from poisoning of the gangrene because he was handicapped, he's paralyzed. Nobody could find out. Like, he didn't even know he was injured, for quite a while until they found out, probably. But it was too late, and Corky had gangrene in his foot, and it went through his blood, and it killed him. And it was a very sad ending to Porky McCabe because, he was a guy from Southern California, and I didn't know much about him, and I did reach out to him, try to be nice to him a few times on the track and stuff, and he just didn't like me. But it didn't matter. Porky's a human. He's a speedway rider, and it's just really really sad. But anyways, we go ahead and remember Porky McCabe. I forgot his number, like 154, but Porky was a good person and somebody we should respect and remember. And if you haven't remembered, it was Porky McCabe. So thank you so much. And we're going to talk to you soon. Take care and keep Porky McCabe in your prayers. And we appreciate you. And we're just doing a show on the memory of Porky McCabe. There's nothing written about him. So I just kind of like went off on my memory what I remembered about Porky because he did have a sad ending. And thank you so much. And we're going to see you. Yeah. We're going to see you next time. Take care. Have a great day. I hope you're all doing well. And we're just doing live stream here in the Hive. And please take care of yourself and have a great day.